thank you so much for buying Twitter.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you so much.
The pain level of Twitter has been extremely high. This hasn't been some sort of party. So it's been really quite a stressful situation.
I think you changed the course of history. I really do. I really think you made a fork in the road. We were headed down a path of censorship and of control of narratives that is unprecedented. Forget about what they were able to do back when they had newspapers and the media under control.
Was the Biden administration violating citizens' First Amendment rights or fighting digital lies when it pushed social media companies to remove posts about COVID-19? That's the question now facing the Supreme Court.
What they were doing with social media by suppressing information, and when you had a combined government effort, like what they were doing with the laptop story. We have 51 former intelligence agents saying that this is Russian disinformation, take it offline, and Twitter complied. If you didn't buy that, we wouldn't have known that. We had no idea.
Exactly.
If we don't have free speech, then we just don't have a free country. It's as simple as that. If this most fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down.
I was like the most interacted with a user on Twitter before the acquisition. So before the acquisition, I had more interactions than then. There's some accounts like Obama and whatever had higher follower accounts, but I had the most number of interactions of any account in the system. So I was very attuned to if they change the system, I can tell immediately. And I'm like something weird is going on here. You know, I just got increasingly uneasy. And obviously when they deplatformed a sitting president, they deplatformed Trump, that was just insane. And the things he was posting, like he was posting things that he was posting good things. He was saying like, hey, do not riot, don't do any destruction of property, please stay calm. That's the kind of stuff he was posting. And you're like, what's wrong with that? And then some people said, oh, that's like some sort of dog whistle. He means the opposite. I'm like, okay, so we'll give you Trump's account. Now you post what you think he should post, because he can post nothing. He can ask people to calm down. Like what? It was insane. Like it didn't make any sense.
Well, it's completely illogical when you say it's dog whistling to tell his followers to not be violent. That's crazy.
And crazy.
That's crazy.
Crazy.
Don't you think they'll listen to him?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole point? They listened to him and created violence in the first place? That's what you think. That's what you're accusing him of.
Right.
My fellow Americans, I want to speak to you tonight about the troubling events of the past week. I want to be very clear. I unequivocally condemn the violence that we saw last week. Violence and vandalism have absolutely no place in our country and no place in our movement.
And then there's the fact that we know that there was agents in the crowd that were agent provocateurs that were encouraging people to do illegal shit.
Yes.
We know that for a fact. This is not that. It was always the big Alex Jones type tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. You couldn't even have a peaceful protest, a fucking sticker on your car. You couldn't have that. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I think we're very much at a fork in the road in destiny. And I mean, the reason I did the Twitter acquisition was like, man, if I don't do this, I think we're screwed. Is the issue.
Well, if you didn't do it, no one else was going to do it because it wasn't a financial winner. It was kind of a crazy move.
It's a crazy move. I mean, the thing was way overpriced, and like long term, I think we can ultimately make it a win for investors. But boy, this is a hard way to make a living.
Free speech is meaningless unless you allow people you don't like to say things you don't like. Otherwise, it's irrelevant. And if at the point at which you lose free speech, it doesn't come back. Who's to say that something is misinformation? Who's the arbiter of that? Is it the BBC? Yes, I'm saying who is to say that one person's misinformation is another person's information? Who is going to decide that?
You accept that misinformation can be dangerous, that it can cause real-world harms, that it can potentially cause...
Yeah, so the point I'm trying to make is that the BBC itself has, at times, published things that are false. Do you agree that has occurred?
I'm quite sure the BBC have said things before that turn out to not be true. It is, whatever it is, 100-year history, I'm quite sure.
Well, there's also a concerted effort to suppress it. There's a concerted effort with the advertisers.
Well, we had and still have a massive advertiser boycott that was organized by a bunch of left-wing NGOs. Yeah, I mean, it's just totally nuts.
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself. But go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Here in the audience.
If you didn't do it, no one would have. And here's the hilarious narrative that I keep hearing from idiots. Elon's a bad businessman. Twitter is worth, 400% less than when he bought it. No, it wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth that in the first place.
It wasn't worth $44 billion. Wrong. And also, you're not taking into account the Advertiser boycott.
Exactly.
That's total.
Yeah, exactly. So there are these organizations, like you can tell they're like when they have an Orwellian name. So like the Center for Countering Digital Hate is a total scam organization, because they're like the Ministry of Truth type of thing in Orwell. They're a censorship organization, and they pushed the advertisers to boycott. So we still have some of the boycott is starting to lift, and I think if Trump wins, we'll see probably most of the boycott lift. But if Kamala wins, we'll see that boycott get stronger, and they'll friggin' shut down. There's no way that the sort of Kamala puppet regime would allow X to exist.
He has lost his privileges, and it should be taken down. And the bottom line is that you can't say that you have one rule for Facebook and you have a different rule for Twitter. The same rule has to apply, which is that there has to be a responsibility that is placed on these social media sites to understand their power. They are directly speaking to millions and millions of people without any level of oversight or regulation. And that has to stop.
So it's illegal to hire someone who's not an American citizen.
What SpaceX is considered an advanced weapons technology. So it's covered by international traffic and arms regulations because we make rocket technology that can be used against the United States. So if North Korea or Iran got SpaceX rocket technology, they could use that to launch nukes at America.
Right.
That would be bad.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
That'd be really bad. So since we are in like the most extreme category of weapons technology at SpaceX, under U.S. ITAR law, it is illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident because the presumption is that if they're not a permanent resident, they're going to return to their home country and take the rocket technology with them.
I especially want to congratulate someone who truly embodies the American ethos of big thinking and risk-taking. In 2002, he began pouring tens of millions of dollars of his own money into research and development for a new rocket. He's a little different than a lot of other people. He liked rockets. SpaceX has become the first private company to develop and successfully launch its own rocket into orbit, the first to launch and recover its own capsule. And of course, moments ago, SpaceX became the first private company to put humans into orbit around the Earth. Elon Musk, congratulations. Congratulations, Elon.
Then there's another law that says if you discriminate against asylum seekers, you're also breaking the law. So the DOJ can only do a small number of big lawsuits every year. Launched a giant lawsuit against SpaceX, saying that SpaceX discriminated against asylum seekers, and we're like, but it's illegal for us to hire anyone who's not a permanent resident. So we're in this. This is what I mean. The Orwell situation is getting insane. You're damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't. So you're damned.
So there are logical restrictions on who could actually work on such technology. ITAR prohibits trafficking in arms, and those regulations is what Elon Musk and SpaceX relied on to say we're allowing green card holders and American citizens, but if you don't fall in those categories, I'm sorry, the federal government has tied our hands. That's exactly what Elon Musk said. But this DOJ, which is so highly politicized, said, well, if you squint, there's this exception in one of the laws that says if you're asylee or refugee status, then you should be allowed to apply for that job. Well, guess who else doesn't allow green card holders or asylees? The U.S. Department of Justice Civil Rights Division. Right now, they have advertisements saying if only American citizens and nationals need apply. So the hypocrisy is extraordinary.
So I want to be clear. This is not out of some desire of SpaceX to just hire people with green cards. It's because we're not allowed to do anything else.
Basically, if the government wants to go after you, they'll just find a reason. They decide that you're the target, and then they figure out the crime afterwards. That's the issue. They decided SpaceX was the target. They just figured out the crime afterwards. They're doing all the things that they accused Trump of doing.
Yeah, openly. Yeah.
I mean, the sheer number of hoaxes that the Democratic Party is pushing over and over again. And look, I understand like politicians are gonna, exaggerate. They're gonna misspeak, and they'll tell occasional, untruths, whatever. That's how it is in politics. But when you have deliberate, concerted, repeated pushing of hoaxes, you're like, wait a second, come on, man, this is too far.
And you're supposed to be the good guys.
You're supposed to, and you claim to be the good guys. I'm like, exactly.
You're supposed to be the progressives.
Yes, the Dems are like, oh, we're the good guys. We're the honest people. No, hang on. You can't claim to be the good guys. You can't claim to be the honest people if you're deliberately pushing hoaxes that have been debunked thoroughly. They'll take like like not even a full sentence, like a half a sentence from Trump.
Yes.
And then they'll push it on every ad, every speaking event, every
and it gets
media.
repeated on the news.
Yes.
This is what's crazy. They'll talk about it on these news shows, news shows.
Yeah, exactly. The Second Amendment is there to stop the tyranny of government. The Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, is there to protect freedom of speech.
That sounds crazy for people to hear because they think about gun violence and gun problems and gun this and gun that. But that's the reality of the world that we live in, is that tyranny is possible and it exists other places and it's slowly existing. It's slowly rearing its head in the UK. You're seeing, I think the number of people that have been arrested for just social media posts is bananas. It's in the thousands.
Yes, several thousand people have been given prison sentences in the UK for social media posts where there was no explicit link to actual violence, but they just said it encouraged violence. I'm like, well, did anyone actually do anything as a result of that media post? Well, no, but they just and then they have a prison overcrowding situation in the UK, so they're quite literally releasing convicted pedophiles and putting people in jail for Facebook posts. That's an actual thing happening in Britain. Like it's
so wild that people can't see.
Is going on.
And what's insane to me
Make
is
Orwell fiction again.
Yeah.
But
it's all being encouraged by the left. Ketanji Brown Jackson, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton.
John Kerry was one of the people who said that on camera, like a few weeks ago, saying that the First Amendment is an obstacle to fighting misinformation.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's such a crazy thing to say when you have a solution in community notes.
Yes,
you have a solution in something like that could clear everything up, any confusion within a day or two.
And even without a community note, you can reply to a post and with evidence that shows that the post is wrong. You don't even need community notes. I mean, community notes is helpful because it sticks to the original note.
Yes.
But in the replies, you can say, here's why you're wrong, here are the reasons, and here's the evidence.
If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to spread more awareness. Share your thoughts in the comments below and join the conversation. Your engagement helps us bring more content to light. Remember, stay informed, stay engaged.